All right, everyone. CNN has a new story about how if there's a hard Brexit, it'll cause a recession over in the UK. And some people interpret this continuously as, well, this is Project Fear. This is them trying to convince people not to want a hard Brexit. I don't think so. I think it's gone beyond that at this point. At this point, a hard Brexit is pretty much assured at some indefinite point. Supposedly Halloween of this year, so get ready to get spooky, because they've been wrapping fear around it for years. But I think it goes further. I think that it's sort of an admission that that's the plan if there is a hard Brexit. Like, you've got to understand, the UK's got a centralized economy to the extent that a handful of multinationalists, like here, like most parts of the world, control a lot of the industry. If you get these people together, let's say that I'm some corporate boardroom billionaire, smoking the cigars and eating the caviar, sitting in the dim light grinning as I look at maps of the world with my colleagues, essentially trying to create trusts and slowly take over and make as much money as I can because I'm corrupt and crazy. If I'm a multinationalist, my holdings aren't just in the UK. I've got 20-30% in the UK, the rest is scattered around the EU countries. I don't want a Brexit at all. I want the status quo because I can buy off bureaucrats in Brussels more easily because they're making all the rules anyway. I don't have to worry about bribing different groups of people. I don't have to worry about national loyalty because I don't have to just invest domestically. Because of the free trade, which is only for the rich, basically, it seems, agreements between these countries, it makes it easy for me to enslave people all across the EU. I can import low-wage Eastern European workers into my Western European first world factories to make products, ship them out to the US or whatever, make money hand over fist. I make a lot of money. I'm a corporatist. And it's multinational. If there's a Brexit, it makes it harder. I'm saying, well, I'm, British, and I'm going to lose access to this, that, and the other thing, or I'll have to move and abandon these operations, become like European or whatever. It's going to be a hassle. I'm going to lose millions of dollars, maybe a lot more. You pinch pennies when you get to that point. The more miserly people, they get miserly. They're successful because they pinched pennies and they don't lose that habit. They stay frugal in that sense many times. They're not, when they say, well, I'm a philanthropist. No. Yeah, George Soros is a philanthropist. If he can slap his name on some initiative that looks good on paper, whether it is or not, he's willing to invest. It's good for all of his other for-profit brands. When he feels like Right Wing Watch, its parent firm is funded in large part by the Soros Open Society Foundation. They get to call themselves a non-profit because they get free money from someone who is very much profit-driven. It's not really a non-profit at all. It's not independent, that's for sure. It's all interconnected, and it's all about the money at the top level. Here's the thing. They can bring down the UK's economy. What they're saying is they're going to cause a recession if there's a hard Brexit. The goal is to either, if the Brexit happens, they're still hoping beyond hope that it doesn't. We'll see what happens. I think that it will eventually go forth. Hard Brexit happens, they put the economy into a tailspin. They'll start firing people. They'll pretend that it's totally organic, but really it's all engineered. It's to engineer a crisis in which all of a sudden you have soaring unemployment, and the pound becomes less worth money, and there's political violence and riots and stuff like that. That's what they're going to do. Downturn in industry. Oh, our GDP will dry up. We'll go into negative growth. It's terrible. And then they'll try to use their diplomatic leverage within the UK's government to throttle plans with the US. Like that ambassador's leaks through The Intercept. Do you think that timing was coincidental, or do you think that's meant to stymie a planned trade deal between the US and the UK to slow it down, hopefully till after the hard Brexit? I think it was. These things don't happen like that for without a reason. There's no coincidence when it comes to that big an issue within politics. So what they're saying is not they're expecting the hard Brexit will organically cause an economic decline. And they're not doing it just to try to dissuade people from supporting Brexit. Look, if economic fears would dissuade people, poll after poll consistently since Brexit was triggered wouldn't say that most people don't want to go back on it. They do want to fully have their Brexit, and then if something happens later, then it happens later. Most British people consistently have said, yes, we want this to happen. That's what we voted for. We respect the referendum results. No, we don't want a second referendum. It's overwhelming support. It's like 70-30 or something. That being said, since that can't possibly be the legitimate reason why they would release such articles, what this instead is saying, hey, there will be a recession if there's a Brexit. If there's a hard Brexit, there will be a recession. They're just not telling you why. They're just not telling you who will be responsible for that recession. What? So a factory is incapable of continuing to operate simply because you've had a Brexit? No, of course not. But what can happen is that the person that owns that factory says, well, I'm not confident about the economy. We're going to suspend work, slow it down and stuff. Oh, woe is me. I have to pay 1 penny more per fucking product to import it now. We're insolvent. Oh my goodness. It's just a bunch of rich, greedy plutocrats anyway. So yeah, you can expect a recession after a hard Brexit. By the way, that's the better of all possibilities. What you should do is you should look at those multinationalists and see what they're doing before and after the hard Brexit and ask yourself if they shouldn't be prosecuted for trying to bring down the British economy. Maybe that's what you ought to do. Maybe you ought to have that sort of reform. Maybe you ought to have a real free market system over there somewhere in Europe instead of having constant interventionism at every possible level so that sort of thing wouldn't happen. Maybe the EU is just a bunch of bullshit. Maybe it's always been about authoritarianism and it was sold to you in a family-friendly wrapper, the same as socialism is here. It's basically what it boils down to. That's about all. Peace out.